It is the spooky season, and we are here to discuss horror movies all throughout the month of October. This is the first year I'm going to try and do it. I'm going to try and get through 31 videos of just talking about horror throughout the month of October, as well as some special little inserts here and there. Stay tuned for those. But let's get into it with my 2025 top horror movies of the year so far. Now, one of these is a movie that hasn't come out. Probably if you watched this in mid-October, this movie's already out. And I just couldn't help but to put it on here because I was so impressed by this movie. So let's get into it. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell. 50,000 subscribers is our big goal. Can we get to it by the end of this month? That is the big goal. We'll see. Let's get into 2025 top 5 horror movies of the year so far. So at number 5 on my list, I am going to have the film Together. This is the film from Michael Shanks, which stars Alison Brie, Dave Franco, about a couple who are fusing for some reason. Now, I know this movie is a little bit more on the comedy side and all that, but it does have some body horror and it does have some very gnarly scenes that the first time I watched him at South by Southwest, I was a little bit scared, I'm not gonna lie. And I think it's a great movie. Overall, I think the horrors of being in a relationship and not knowing exactly how your partner might feel, and also just not realizing if you really are meant to be together, those are things that really get people like scared, right? It makes people have cold feet, end up not getting married. And I think this film really portrayed that in a very interesting manner. I don't think we get enough movies that really emphasize that fear that many people might get when they realize that this is it. This is who they've chosen to be their partner, and did they make the right choice? I think it's a film that really takes that fear and puts a little bit of a comedy spin, but also a body horror spin to it, and it just makes a grand film. So really love Together. Number 4 on my list is going to be Steven Soderbergh's first film of the year, because I think this year he has 3. This one is Presence. This movie came out at Sundance last year, and ever since then, the rave reviews and everything, I've been itching to watch this movie. Finally was able to sit down with it. At the beginning of this year was actually, I think, the first or second film I watched all year, and it continues to be in my top 10. I think what Steven Soderbergh did here sound on paper like a gimmick. You get the point of view of the ghost, and that's pretty much what you follow throughout. But I think what he really elevated this movie with was the fact that this movie is more of a drama at its core, and the dramas and the horrors of a suburban life, of being a teenager, all of this, and just trying to navigate the world that's ever so changing and is so hostile still. And I think Steven Soderbergh captured that brilliantly. This movie is so dark at its core. It could possibly be one of the darkest movies of the year when you really think about it. And I just thought that Steven Soderbergh captured this intensity and this very loneliness that I think a lot of people feel in such a unique manner, and the way that it was done through the point of view of the ghost just even added more to it instead of it feeling like a gimmick. So I really love Presence. Number 3 on my list is going to be the film Sinners, the new film from Ryan Coogler starring Michael B. Jordan. This was a movie that I think many people still think about today, and what I really loved about this movie is its final act. I wasn't as big or crazy on the film as a whole. It currently is like on my 5th or 6th for top 10 of the year. But in terms of horror, I think that this movie really elevates the vampire to another level that we haven't seen before. And I think Jack O'Connell as the vampire here is just something out of this world. I really love this performance from Jack O'Connell. One of my favorite performances of the year. It is such a dastardly and menacing vampire, and at the same time with some charm to him, which I just think is always a great thing to have in a villain or a horror character, is this charm, because that charm is what makes your guard go down. So when they come through and do something wicked and evil, it is just much more pronounced throughout. This is one of those movies that has so many shots that I think are just going to become iconic as the years go by, and I'm very excited for Ryan Coogler and what he does next. But number 2 on my list is going to be a movie that is not yet out. It should be out in a couple of weeks though, and that is going to be The Black Phone 2 or Black Phone 2. I don't know whenever they drop from The Black Phone, but they've done it for the sequel. I got a chance to watch this at Fantastic Fest. Scott Derrickson, C. Robert Cargill, the rest of the crew were here present, did a little Q&A and all. And I'm telling you, Ethan Hawke has never been this evil before. If you thought he was wicked in the first film, he takes that and multiplies it times like 10. This is a very wicked grabber. He is straight from hell, honestly. He even says it at a point. Of course, this is a sequel to The Black Phone, which came out a couple of years ago, and the grabber returns in a snowy environment environment now. And just how sadistic and cruel this grabber is, you would think that they were in hell, not in the snowy setting, which I think the snow really adds more to that juxtaposition. This is a movie that I cannot stop thinking about. I think the scares are brilliant. You see Madeline McGraw take front and center stage with the role of Gwen, and it is just something you're going to have to witness. Really, truly creative in terms of that final act. A climax that I am wanting to see on the big screen yet again, because it just left me with my jaw on the floor. It is beautifully shot, beautifully done. The acting is superb. The score is incredible. This is one of those movies that I think everybody's going to be talking about it once it releases. I could definitely see this being and doing a lot better than the first film. Truly do not miss Black Phone 2. But number one on my list is going to be the film 28 Years Later, which is a very controversial film this year, honestly. A lot of people hated it, a lot of people loved it, and I think a lot of what happened with this movie is there were expectations of what the film should have done or could have been by people who didn't write or direct the film. I think that so much of what happened with this film is the trailer gave people an illusion of what this film was going to be, but I mean, by now we know that trailers are, at the end of the day, just marketing, and we should really just go into a film not expecting whatever we think it is or should be in our heads, because of course the director, the writer, and all the artists behind the film are going to do whatever they're going to do. What I really loved about this film is that it tackles so many themes throughout its runtime about how post-apocalyptic environments can shape and mold people into different of who they used to be before, and the world that we knew is not maybe the world that we thought we knew. A lot of what Alex Garland talks about in this film is this sort of way that the young character Spike sees his father at the beginning of the film, and then as he learns more about the world and how his father really is, you sort of mature and become something else. And I think that's just a sort of passage of growing up. You start to realize that maybe the things your parents did or said, it made sense back then when you were younger and all that, but as you start to view the world through your own lens, you really start to see how it is, and you start to sort of mold your opinions based on that and let go of what maybe you were brought up with. And I think it is a beautiful film about growing up, truly a coming of age horror film, and I just can't get enough of it. I definitely want to revisit it before the year ends and talk more about it, so stay tuned for that. But those are my top 5 horror movies of the year so far. I thought this was the best way to kick off spooky season. I have some more videos planned for you throughout the rest of the month. Do not miss out on those. And make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss out on a video. I'll see all of you next time. Let me know what are your favorite horror movies of the year so far in the comments down below. And as always, that's going to do it for me. Stay safe, stay positive.